Did you think Washington was going to stay quiet after the Super Bowl? No way, Commanders fans. The franchise is about to shake up the NFL with 3 moves that could either take them to heaven or sink them into hell. ZACK, Baun, that linebacker who stole the ball from Mahomes in the end zone, just gave the King of Kansas a nightmare. But watch out, his contract is no longer $3.5 million. He wants $10 million. Is it worth emptying the wallet for a one-season hero? But wait! Adam Peters isn't sleeping. Did you know that Debo Samuel asked to leave San Francisco? The most versatile wide receiver in the NFC could come to form a dynamite duo with Terry McLaurin. Can you imagine Jaden Daniels throwing to these 2 demons? That's playing in God mode. But spending a second-round pick plus renewing a $1 million contract for a 29-year-old veteran? That decision will fry Peters' brain. And if that wasn't enough, light candles for Dan Quinn. Myles Garrett, the Cleveland monster with 94 sacks, could come to Washington. We're talking about a pass rusher that even scares Lombardi. If they bring him in, Payne and Allen would become the deadliest hunters in the NFL. But the price is high, a first-round pick? Even 2. And can he handle the pressure of a fan base that demands a Super Bowl now? Subscribe and leave your like before this explodes. Now I bring you this, Commanders community. Do you remember when I told you that Zack Baun could be the piece we needed on defense? Well, hold on tight. What he did last night in the Super Bowl against Mahomes and the Chiefs. This changes everything. I'm telling you. With less than 2 minutes in the second quarter, Mahomes, from his own 6-yard line, throws a pass. And who intercepts it? Zack Baun. A play that took Kansas City's breath away. And you know what? That's not all. This man has had an interception or a recovered fumble in every playoff game. For games, for impacts. Now you're going to tell me this isn't a clutch player? But listen to me well. A month ago, right here, I told you that Baun could be an affordable option for Washington. Do you know what he was earning in Philly? $3.5 million a year. A steal for a linebacker who barely started 14 games in 4 years. But now, forget that bargain. After last night, his Pro Bowl, being All-Pro, Spotrac already projects him at almost $10 million annually. And guess what? That could go up. Now I ask you, Commanders, is it worth spending more than $10 million a year for a 27-year-old linebacker who has only had 1 season as a starter? Or is it better to invest in young talent from the draft? I'll give you my opinion. Baun is a legitimate talent, a player who elevates his game when it matters. But, are we ready to enter a bidding war? Because Philly, Dallas, Giants, everyone will want him. And don't be fooled. Our defense was a disaster in 2024. We need leaders, not just bodies. Baun has that spark, that rage that spreads. But here's the problem, is he a product of Philly's system? Because in New Orleans he never shined like this. Would he be limited in Washington without that Eagles defensive line? I'll make this clear. If Adam Peters and the new coach believe Baun is the catalyst to change the culture of this defense, we have to pay him. But if he's just a famous name, let's look for smarter options. And what do you say, Commanders fans? Would you pay $12 million a year for Zack Baun after his Super Bowl? Or would you rather take a chance on a rookie in the draft? Write it down below. This decision defines the future of the team. I've already told you my opinion. Attention, Commanders fans. Are you ready for a bomb that could change everything in Washington? Because I have this for you. Debo Samuel, the same Debo who terrorized defenses with the 49ers, could come to the Commanders? Yes, you heard right. Now I ask, would this be a master move or a costly mistake for Adam Peters? I tell you this is not a game. It turns out the 49ers gave Debo permission to seek a trade. And what did our GM Adam Peters do? Man, this guy knows Samuel like the back of his hand. He was in San Francisco when they drafted him in 2019. Do you think he trusts him? Of course, he does. But here's the dilemma. Debo is 29 years old, coming off a discrete season, and in March, he turns 30. And guess who needs explosive weapons for Jaden Daniels? Let's get to the point. What would Samuel bring? Let me remind you, he is a monster after the catch. Breaks tackles, accelerates like a Ferrari, and has that I'm going to break you in half attitude that we lacked this year, except when Terry McLaurin played superhero. Imagine Daniels throwing to Debo and Scary Terry. That's a nightmare for any defense. But be careful. San Francisco is asking for a second-round pick, a third, and if Debo also demands to renew his contract, Washington has the capital, yes. But I ask you, is it worth investing millions in a receiver who could be in decline? Or is it time to bet on a veteran who wants to redeem himself? I tell you that Adam Peters is not afraid. Now, the most important question, what do you think, Commanders fans? Should we give a second or third round pick for Debo Samuel? Or would you rather Peters use that capital in free agency or the draft? Listen up, Debo is not the same as in 2021, but his beast and versatility are still elite. If Peters can bring him for a day 3 draft pick or a modest trade, do it! But paying first round picks or renegotiating his contract is a risk. Daniels' window is now, but we can't squander resources. This decision will define the team's direction. Would you support a trade for Debo Samuel if it costs a third-round pick or less? What's happening in Washington, fans? The franchise might be about to make a move that shakes the entire NFL. Yes, you heard right. ESPN sources suggest that the Commanders are exploring the possibility of trading for, wait for it, Myles Garrett. But first, let's back up. Who would have imagined? Dan Quinn arrives in Washington, sets up a mediocre defense, 18th in the league, 23 points per game, mediocre, and still, they reach the NFC Championship game with a rookie quarterback, Jayden Daniels, showing the poise of a veteran. I told you this kid was special. But now, listen to this, management doesn't want to wait. They want to win now. Now, I ask you, what does this defense need to stop being a burden? A monster on the line. And here comes the bomb. What if I told you the Commanders are after the best defensive pass rusher in the NFL? Myles Garrett, people. The man who has 93.5 sacks in 8 seasons, a colossus who destroys quarterbacks like they're paper dolls. But wait, would Cleveland let him go? The same Garrett asked to leave. And Washington has $78 million in cap space. $78 million! Do you know what that means? They can pay his contract, give draft picks if necessary, and still have money left to keep building. Now, I ask you, is this crazy or genius? On one hand, Garrett is 29 years old. He's in his prime. But what would you give in return? A first-round pick? 2? I believe it's worth it if you turn this defense into a nightmare. Imagine Garrett alongside John Allen and Darren Payne. It would be a crime for opposing lines. But here's my powerful argument. Jayden Daniels is on his rookie contract. It's now or never. If you want to compete for a Super Bowl before paying him $50 million a year, you need to build with talent now. And what better than a historic defensive player? Garrett not only creates chaos, but also teaches the young guys. It's a statement of intent. Now, the uncomfortable question, and Chase Young? Yes, the one they gave away to San Francisco. If they bring Garrett, isn't it a blow to the ego of a franchise that said goodbye to its last defensive star? I tell you this. Dan Quinn and Adam Peters are not afraid. They want to win, and Garrett is a quantum leap. But will it work? Garrett comes from a culture in Cleveland where, let's be honest, the pressure is minimal. In Washington, with this passionate fan base and a rising team, he would be the leader this defense needs. Watch out! If he buys into the project, this can be epic. And now, fans, my question for you, would you make the trade? Would you give a first-round pick and more for Myles Garrett, knowing you can win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years? Commanders fans, 3 decisions that will define our future. First debate, ZACK Baun has an offer on the table for $12 million a year after his Super Bowl. But here's the key question, do we pay that price for his experience, or trust a rookie from the draft to save capital? Would you risk financial stability or young potential? Second point, Debo Samuel. If Dan Peters proposes trading a second or third round pick for him, do you think his impact on the offense would justify losing that pick? Or would you rather use that capital in free agency or to cover other team needs? And the bomb, Myles Garrett. A trade would involve at least a first round pick and more. If with him we drastically increase the chances of winning the Super Bowl in 2 years, would you give up that immediate future for a ring? Or would you protect future drafts to build a solid project? Commanders fans, this is not just football, it's building a legacy. Comment your answers below. We want to know what you would do in each scenario. Share your arguments, debate respectfully, and, above all, subscribe to be part of this community that decides, vibrates, and celebrates like an authentic family. Together we are stronger. Until next time. And remember, hail to the Redskins!